The latest update about Thailand market was last year, 2024, when the law for importing wines changed in a positive way. You have to imagine that before 2024, we had import duty for products coming, let's say, from Europe, in this particular case, Italian wines, compared to products from New Zealand, Australia, and Chile. They were benefiting from Pacific Trade Agreement. So today we have a zero import duty. That doesn't mean zero tax. There was a lot of misinformation last year. Lots of suppliers reach out to us and say, oh, taxes are gone. No, it's not true. We have other taxes such as excise tax, multiple different taxes like health tax, a tax on the alcohol volume, a tax on the size of the bottle or the packaging. So all combined, taxes still remain fairly high. However, they were lower than what they used to be.
Welcome to Asia Wine Market, the series that takes you inside the most dynamic and fast-evolving wine markets across Asia. I'm your host, Roza, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories, trends, and opportunities shaping the future of wine in this vibrant region. Whether you are a winery looking to expand in Asia or a wine professional exploring global trends, this series is for you. Hello and welcome to Asia Wine Market series. Last time we talked about Hong Kong wine market, and today we're moving to Thailand. I'm very excited to welcome Walter Giomi to our show. So Walter was born and raised in Rome, Italy. He started working in restaurants at the age of 13 and earned his first wine certification at 19. And since 2013, he has built his career with a leading beverage importer in Thailand, Bangkok Beer and Beverages. And now he is managing wine and accessories portfolios there. Walter holds the WSET diploma, WSET in spirits, the advanced level. He is also our fellow Italian wine ambassador. And he is also a certified instructor for WSET and the Wine Scholar Guild. And since 2019, he has been a wine lecturer at the Le Cordon Bleu, the culinary school in Bangkok. So welcome, Walter. We are very happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you very much for having me today. It will be an honor to discuss the Thailand market with you.
We are super excited. Okay, Thailand is a very interesting market. We haven't discussed it yet in our podcast. But first of all, can you please briefly walk us through your journey from Rome to Bangkok?
Sure. Well, it started 12 years ago. I've been based in Thailand since 2013. But before I moved to Thailand, I spent a few months of my life in California, exactly San Francisco. I think that gave me the opportunity to expand my perspective about wine and wine industry. It was a coincidence that I moved to Thailand. It was not really planned. And it took me a while to find a job. I did find a job with Bangkok Beer and Beverages. So I've been working with them since, and I got hired by an icon of the wine industry in Thailand, California gentleman called Mr. Ron Batori. He is now retired. He's over 80 years old, but he was one of the legends, let's say, in the Thailand wine importing industry. So yeah, that's pretty much myself, and the rest you have described it. So thank you a lot. It took many years to study about wine, and I would say I'm still a student despite I teach.
Okay, thank you a lot for your introduction. If you want to learn more about Walter, you can always go to our show notes, which we're going to include in the episode as usual. So let's dive into our main focus for today, our key takeaways. First one, we are going to understand the structure of the Thailand wine market. Walter is going to give us an overview of Thailand's wine ecosystem, its structure, main regional markets, the key players in the market. Second, we're going to identify consumer trends and the top performing Italian categories. And third, we are going to talk about Walter's job to learn some practical insights from him based on his work in import and wine education. All right, so to begin, let's look at what makes Thailand such a unique and sometimes challenging market for Italian wines. So can you please give us an overview of how the Thai market is structured today?
Sure. So I think the latest update about Thailand market was last year, 2024, when the law for importing wines changed in a positive way. You have to imagine that before 2024, we had import duty for products coming, let's say, from Europe, in this particular case, Italian wines, compared to products from New Zealand, Australia, and Chile. They were benefiting from Pacific Trade Agreement. So today, this Pacific Trade Agreement doesn't provide any advantages. So we have a zero import duty. That doesn't mean zero tax. There was a lot of misinformation last year. Lots of suppliers reach out to us and say, oh, taxes are gone. No, it's not true. We have other taxes such as excise tax and multiple different taxes like a health tax, a TV tax, a tax on the alcohol volume, a tax on the size of the bottle or the packaging. So all combined, taxes still remain fairly high. However, they were lower than what they used to be. So that's the taxation. Of course, suppliers or importers or distributors will definitely look into prices as a factor to choose their products. That's for sure something to put into consideration. That's not the only factor, but there is definitely a factor there, differently from Hong Kong, that is zero tax for wine. So you need to declare your taxes based on what retail price the importer or distributor will declare. And so the taxes will work backwards in the sense that if you want to operate with very low overhead, you will declare a very low retail price, and so you will pay less duties. That could be smart, but could be risky. On the other end, you can declare a standard retail price and you will pay the related taxes. So for this reason, for this kind of tax, you see that there are so many wine shops because by law, you need to declare a retail price as a distributor. And so the distributor must show those products on shelf somewhere in Thailand. That could be their own shop or can be a supermarket or could be like a third wine shop that lists those distributors' products. It's a little bit confusing, I understand, but once you understand it from our perspective, it gets pretty clear.
So, just to wrap up the main points here, duties on imported wines from Europe is zero. However, the producers have to be aware of the taxation system, which the importers you choose to work with can help you understand more. So, with that in mind, let's move to some of the key players on the market.
For sure. So compared to 12 years ago, when I moved here, the number of players has enlarged. With the 2024 new law, we see new players coming in, mostly small players, small new players, because it's easier for them to get a license to import wine on their own. And even if they don't, they can rely on companies that import for them. And so they become simply distributors. So the key players are usually the ones that are biggest in size. By revenue, I would guess it's one company called IWS. Then you have Italesia. By its name, you can guess that their focus is on Italian wines. However, they have a portfolio from all over the world. Bangkok Beer and Beverages is definitely up there in the top three or in the top five. Then other key players at a different levels. So we have for Italian wines, we have a company called Texica, focused just on Italian wines, but they mostly do the on-trade. You have a company called G4, also lots of Italian wines. You have more premium importer called the Wine Merchant. And then you have several others. I would say most of players, they have some Italian wines. There are many, many small players that I'm not really familiar with. They pop up every now and then. They carry some Italian wineries. In certain cases, unknown wineries to the most. In certain cases, some famous producers. So, yeah, Italian wines are well represented in this market. When it comes to retailers, I'd say that the strongest player remains Central Group, so Tops. Tops operates with three different tiers. They have a Tops Daily, which is a convenience store, up to a food hall that sells also premium wines. They've been expanding. They've been investing a lot in wine retail. I believe that's the sector that is growing in Thailand at the moment is retail. And this is thanks to the 2024 new law that allowed them to sell wines from shelf at a lower rate.
Hmm.
Online sales are in fact illegal, and so is illegal the
Oh,
advertisement of alcohol. However, there are some gray zones because if you have a private chat with somebody, you can definitely sell something, but you cannot have a platform in Thailand that openly sell online alcohol of any kind.
that's quite interesting. So, how do you promote? How do distributors promote, for example, or retail shops or wine shops, even on social media?
That's a very good question. So in fact they can't. I don't know if you heard last week they just banned a law that was in place for decades about the afternoon sales, the 2 to 5 sales. So till 2 weeks ago, it was not possible for supermarkets or for retailers or even for some hotels and restaurants to sell alcohol between 2 and 5. So they now ban this law. Imagine like we have so many 7-Eleven in Thailand. Imagine a 7-Eleven 2 weeks ago. You step in at 3 p.m. as a tourist. It's hot outside. You want a beer. You want a Thai beer. That's not possible to buy. Today, you are a tourist at 3 p.m. You want a Thai beer from 7-Eleven. It's possible. But when it comes to online sales, this is still illegal. And online advertisement, some people do through social media using Facebook or IG accounts. This is not totally legal. So what happens is, as much as they don't get caught, they're fine. But as soon as somebody reach out from the government, they get fined. And the fine can be hefty. For a single post, we're looking at over €1,000 fine. It is risky. Somebody take the risk, someone else decide not to. So this is really up to the individual or the company.
Hmm. Got it. And let's move back to this 2 to 5 law. I've never been to Thailand, so I might not understand the cultural background.
So I think this law was created in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. If I make a mistake, I apologize. But I think it was related to Thai workers. The government was afraid that workers would drink during shift time. They would not be productive. So they decided to pass this law that was a long time ago. However, the law also discouraged some on premise outlets to sell wine or to sell alcoholic beverages between 2 and 5. So there was a little bit of discussion about this, and eventually the current government decided to stop this law and to change it. I think it's to boost a little bit the tourism because tourists are not aware of this law. So they arrive here and they learn it here. Nobody informed them in advance. So now there is no worry for tourists.
Okay, so this law worked in whole Thailand. I mean, throughout all of
Yes.
the islands, throughout all of the touristy places.
Yes, correct. Yes. So now it's not working anymore.
Interesting. I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, we didn't really know if it would have passed or not. There was discussion taking place in the government for the last few months, and then they announced it. So it's great because we are in the high season now. So it's great that tourists don't get stressed with those restrictions.
Okay, got it. We just mentioned the tourism, touristy places. So, what are the main regional markets for wine in Thailand right now? Like besides Bangkok?
Sure. So Bangkok, you can guess, is the hub, an international city, is a metropole. So you can find virtually any kinds of wines. Maybe not as many as Japan, but we're getting really close to that kind of offer. That's Bangkok, and it's mostly for Thai people or foreigners that have been living here. Usually, the long term foreigners tend to purchase wines in Thailand. Short term, they are still reluctant. That's Bangkok. Then, when we step out from Bangkok, then we look at the most popular islands for tourists, and that's Phuket and Samui. Phuket is one of the biggest islands in Thailand. Of course, the sales of wine are dominated by the on trade, so the hotels. And the hotels, of course, for a combination of factors such as tourists, they are comparing prices of wines back home to prices of wines here. So they're a little bit more price sensitive, especially considering that when they come to Thailand, they believe that everything should be cheaper. Just because the food is cheaper, accommodation are usually cheaper. So they get into that perception that things must have a certain price. So it's tourists, so different choices. The best selling in Phuket might be a sparkling or a rosé. The best selling in Bangkok might be a red wine. Samui is on similar direction as Phuket, but a little bit more price sensitive, a little bit smaller in size. Then these are tourist destinations. Then we have the second biggest city in Thailand, that is Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is in the north. Despite it's the second biggest city, the wine scene there is still at the beginning. It is not as mature as Bangkok and is a little bit more price sensitive than Bangkok. I'm sure there are some niche, but generally speaking, Chiang Mai remains a price sensitive area. Then other areas in Thailand, Pattaya. Pattaya is a big city, is becoming a large city, and is a mix of Thai and foreigners living there, and also tend to be price sensitive. And a new area is the Northeast, the one that right now is having a bit of issues with the Cambodia because it borders with Cambodia. That area is still unexplored for wine, so there is still potential to grow in that area. So that's pretty much Thailand geography.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And I think I kind of know the answer to this question, but how do you think which distribution channels working best for Italian wines now?
Well, when you say Italian wines, I think it's a very broad category. I mean, Italy is the largest producers of wine in the world. So, say Italian wines might be a little bit too generic. For certain categories, the usual suspects, such as Prosecco, Chianti, Pinot Grigio, all channels work fine. So you have good sales in retail as well as in on-trade. When we're looking at Italian wine biodiversity, minor appellations for Italian wines that are less known, I would say that premium retail and on-trade being restaurants remain an important source or resource.
And also, you said about online, it's not allowed to sell any alcoholic beverage online.
No, in fact, you cannot find a platform online that clearly sell in Thailand. There are some couple of exceptions, but they are not necessarily based in Thailand. Then also, you mentioned when we talked about the duty free, also with the new law that passed last year, duty free cannot sell on arrival. So if you arrive in Thailand, you cannot purchase alcohol on the way in the country.
Hmm.
That used to be an option, now is not an option. So the only way a duty free can sell alcohol is on the way out.
Okay. What if I bring some wine with me in my suitcase?
We do it all the time. Just make sure not to get caught because you can bring up to 1 liter. So better to declare if you want to bring more than 1 liter.
Okay, got it. Just to close up the part about Thailand market in general, are there any strong local alcoholic beverages? Like, for example, Japan is known for sake, right? China has baijiu. So, what about Thailand?
So most of the alcohol consumed in Thailand is in fact local alcohol. The majority is beer, of course, and you have beer giants such as Singa, Chang, and Leo. Singa and Leo is the same group. Then after beer, you have local spirits that are called Lao Khao. They could be rice based, sugar cane, or molasses based. They are heavily sold in Thailand. So these two categories represent like the majority of sales. Then you have some imported spirits. So wine at the moment counts for 1% of total alcohol sales in the country, which still remains small. Wine was introduced to the market from top to bottom. You have to imagine that wine has been introduced to this country, I would say 40 to 50 years ago in a more commercial way, but it was introduced by the wealthier people. It was introduced from top to bottom. So the bottom still consume mostly beers and local spirits.
Okay.
I don't think these drinkers are necessarily wine drinkers today. Perhaps younger generation could become wine drinkers, and we see that there are some interests raised by a younger generation about wine because this is still an emergent market for wine. So wine is still a novelty for many people.
Okay. Now let's shift a little bit more to Italian wine specifically. You already mentioned some of the styles. Could you please tell us a little bit more about it? Which Italian wine styles or regions perform best in Thailand now?
So I think you have different approaches when it comes to Italian wines. Let's look maybe at two or three examples. When it comes to a Thai person, let's say a Thai male, he would prefer a red wine that is fuller in body and perhaps not with that many edges. So let's say a Nebbiolo is not for the many. A Nebbiolo remains a niche. What is for the many would be a Primitivo or could be a Valpolicella, but not a Valpolicella Classico DOC, would be a Ripasso or would be an Amarone if you can afford Amarone. When you don't afford Amarone, they redirect their choice to Primitivo or Super Toscans because it reminds them Bordeaux. I mean, they know French wine better than Italian wines, especially Bordeaux wines. So that's one scenario. A restaurateur would play with safe choices, being a Prosecco, being a Pinot Grigio, being a Chianti, that they are able to sell. Now they are introducing Primitivo because they see that local people really enjoy Primitivo. Again, a Valpolicella, Ripasso. Of course, they will put other appellations, but by volume sales, they don't perform as good as those that I just mentioned. So red wine remain the biggest category by volume of sale. And then you have very little white wine, and the sparkling besides Prosecco remains very, very little. So Prosecco is the main character, if not the only character playing for sparkling Italian wines.
But what about the wine professionals? Are they interested in those categories other than Prosecco? Do they want to see, like, for example, Lambrusco? Do they want to see more Trentadoc or Franciacorta?
So, in fact, there are restaurants that they have those listed. However, still remains the minority. I know maybe there is one or two Italian restaurants in Bangkok that have a Lambrusco by the glass. So, compared to the amount of restaurants, that's still a fraction. Lambrusco, for example, it's great for Italian food, but also for Thai food. So Lambrusco could be an interesting alternative to a Prosecco and is more gastronomic. I think is related to the confidence of some of these professionals, the knowledge. Yes, I'm Italian. Some of these restaurateurs are also Italian, but that doesn't mean that we know everything about Italian wine. So there is a lot to study, a lot to get updated. And if you don't get updated, you tend to have an obsolete knowledge. And so you tend to discard certain categories because you're not familiar with them or you think that they are not necessarily good. So I think it's a matter of confidence and knowledge.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, there is an opportunity, but I think we need to educate the customers if they want to be educated.
But also, what I hear is like we also need to educate the wine professionals too. Again.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, the ICE, they just started a free of charge program for Thai sommeliers, and the program was run by ICE, Associazione Italiana Sommelier. So they have done the first part of the Italian wine introduction. I think the second part will be done in January. So this is an attempt by the Italian government to educate Thai sommeliers or locals more about Italian wines. But I would say there are lots of Italians that are based here, and a lot of them own restaurants. Perhaps we could consider them too for future like promotion or education of what's happening in Italy with the wine industry.
Okay, got it. We're running out of time just a little bit. That's why I need to hurry up. So, I would like to ask you again about the Italian categories. Which Italian categories, in your opinion, have strong long term potential but still remain underdeveloped? So, you mentioned Lambrusco. I guess it might be one of your answers to that.
Could be, could be. However, I would tell you there are so many people that still think that Lambrusco is cheap and bad quality. That's unfortunate. I would say also Chianti Classico could be an interesting long-term category because people are familiar with Tuscany. Super Tuscan and Brunello are still the most popular. They don't know the difference between Chianti and Chianti Classico, but Chianti Classico is having a renaissance with all this UGA. So that could be something interesting. Long term, that's very difficult to say because there are so many different regions in Italy with so many different characters. Ah, maybe if the market gets a little bit more mature, they will pick up an interest for Nebbiolos, like diversify a bit on Campania and Sicily. If it remains the same, I would say Montepulciano has a potential because it's full body, it likes oak. So you have this oaky Montepulciano from Abruzzo. They might get some popular feedback.
And also, another question, you mentioned male consumers, but what about female consumers? Like, for example, in our country, like Kazakhstan, quite traditional country where also 70% of the population identify themselves as Muslims. But I mean, we're a secular country. That is why we still drink wine. A lot of females actually drink wine. So, what about Thailand? You didn't mention female drinkers.
I
So.
was waiting for this question actually. Thank you that you mentioned. Yes, in fact, in Thailand, half of the population, if not a little bit more, is female. So there are more female than male. So female approach wine, I think, at the beginning together with their fathers or their partners. So they will start with red, but then when you ask them what they like, they will go for a Moscato. So something aromatic. If it has a little bit of residual sugar, even better. If not, Moscato or any aromatic varieties really have an impact on female drinkers. I would say also the lower alcohol, not necessarily too low, but lower alcohol might make them feel better. But again, we have so many. We have Vermentino, you have Zibibo, you have so many aromatic varieties. This could have a potential, but then the only way to let them discover is maybe to have better by the glass programs in restaurants or having some premium retailers that really decide to promote the diversity of Italian grape varieties.
Mhm.
Without it, we will still sell lots of Moscato and maybe some Riesling.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And I just want to quickly talk about Bangkok Beer and Beverages, about your portfolio. So, can you please talk about your current portfolio? Also, what kind of wines and regions are the superstars of your portfolio right now when it comes to Italian wine?
Okay, so this is a portfolio that was created. I inherited the Italian portfolio in 2015. So since then, I've been managing and restructuring. So right now, we're working with 12 Italian wine regions. We're missing eight. The majority of presence remains Tuscany because that's the most popular choices across all the channels. Then 60% of my Italian wines are red. This is due to what I explained you before. The majority of sales are still dominated by red wines in this market. I work at any price point. I have products that can enter a convenience store, and I have products that are suited for a Michelin star restaurants. I have over 30 different suppliers from Italy. My pillar is value for money.
Hmm.
So no matter what price point I'm looking at, of course, besides the icon, they are on their own league. But for the other products, we really have a strict selection that is based on value for money. So that's us for the Italian portfolio.
You mentioned that right now you have 12 out of 20 regions represented in your portfolio. And what would be the next couple of regions that you're looking at in the future? If I can ask this question.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. You can. In fact, as per today, we have 11 regions. So the 12th region will step in the beginning of next year, and the 12th region is Calabria. Just because we saw that Ciro got a DOCG. Some wine students might be familiar with DOCG, relating it to Barolo and Brunello, that they are the most famous among Thai people. So it's nice to introduce a new DOCG in the market from a region that we never had in our portfolio. And we hope we can use in some classes, Italian wine scholar classes, and we hope that some restaurants would be interested to list. Yesterday, I talked to a very talented wine director for a five-star hotel. I mentioned that I would have a wine from Calabria, and he said, "Oh yeah, let me know." So it's exciting to have new products and see people reactions.
Hmm. Okay, great. And also about your another position. So you're also an educator. You talk both to consumers and also to the wine professionals. Who are the main attendants of your classes? So you're an educator at this school, Le Cordon Bleu, that we
Yeah.
already mentioned. And who are the students coming to those classes?
So Le Cordon Bleu class is suited for wine lovers or wine enthusiasts. I share this class with a Thai educator, so it's two of us. Most of our classes get Thai people, especially wine lovers, so end consumers. Not many professionals attend Le Cordon Bleu, and this is due to the price point because it's a little bit higher than WSET, but we provide good quality wines there. When I started in 2019, I always ask on the first lesson what is their favorite wines. And in 2019, I get a lot of red wine or full body red wine. In 2025, I ask the same questions and the answers are very diverse. So it's a good sign of market maturity or getting there.
Hmm. And another question also, so those wineries who are not represented yet in the market, for example, if they contact the school and want some of their wines to be listed in the classes, is it even possible?
So, first of all, this is a French culinary school. So, the focus it's always on French wine. Doesn't mean that we have to use 100% French wine, but the focus will be on French products and French producers. However, you have Alma, the culinary school from Parma. They open a school here in partnership with Dusitani, and it's called the Food School. So they promote Italy and Italian food. I'm not sure about the wine because I don't work with them, but perhaps they can contact this school. It's called the Food School and check out with them.
Hmm.
The problem is sending samples to Thailand tend to be costly. So if they do by themselves, a producer might have to pay a good amount of money just to send samples. And so I don't know if it makes sense.
Hmm. Okay, got it. All right, we're running out of time. Before we wrap up the episode, I've got three rapid fire questions to ask from you. And if you can, please answer them in a short, concise way, if possible.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Okay, so the first one is, what's one key thing Italian wineries should remember when entering the Thai market? Difficult question to answer in a concise way.
I'll do my best. Consumers are not familiar with Italian geography, so do not take for granted where you're coming from. If you're coming from Marche, people don't even know where Italy is located in Europe. So consider that. That was my concise answer.
So don't expect that the consumer will know everything about Italy and the region you come from.
Yeah, maybe they know Tuscany. Yeah, and they don't know grapes. Again, like they struggle with some grape pronunciation and they don't know majority of grapes. They might know Barolo, but then you ask them what grape do they use to make Barolo, they might not know. So you really need to do baby steps, especially for end consumers.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And which Italian region has the most untapped potential in Thailand? And which one is already saturated, well represented in the market?
I would say yes. In a way, some parts of the Italian wine categories is saturated. Like Tuscany, there is an incredible offer. Prosecco, incredible offer. Pinot Grigio, the same. The one that could expand is Langhe. However, it depends on the demand. Maybe the south of Italy, excluded Puglia, because Puglia with Primitivo is very successful, but then it's not successful for other grape varieties like Nero di Troia. It is not as successful as Primitivo. So maybe south of Italy could be something interesting for the future, being Campania and Sicily, by the variety of wines that they produce.
Okay, great. Thank you. And a very practical one for anyone who's going to visit Thailand soon. What are some of your favorite wine spots or even beer spots, alcohol drinking spots in general?
I personally like dynamic wine lists that are a little bit more fair with prices. There is a beautiful Thai restaurant, very contemporary, that has a great wine list. It's international wine list. It's called Charm Krung. If you are in town, it's a must visit. They are running a very good wine program. Italian restaurants, if I need to focus on that, there is a Giglio that has a very good Tuscan wine list. There is Via Emilia, very good wine list. You have a restaurant called Divino. I think is also mentioned in the Star Wine list. Also very dynamic list. What else? You have a wine bar called Swirl, owned by an importer. That's a good selection. Again, they also have other wines besides Italian wines. And we need more wine bars, actually. So I think there is a lot of work to be done from our side and from professional side. So I think I gave you a few options. They should be okay.
Yeah, I wrote them down, at least 5 options. And the first one you said charm.
Charm Krung. Charm and Krung with a K. Charm Krung. And it's located in Chinatown, Bangkok. And Chinatown is now having a renaissance. So there are a lot of nice restaurants there, nice bars, some very cool cocktail bars. If you happen to visit Bangkok, don't miss an afternoon and an evening in Chinatown. You will not be disappointed.
Got it. Thank you, Walter. You've given us a lot of takeaways, and I've learned myself a lot of interesting things about Thailand. How can our listeners connect with you?
They can add me on LinkedIn if they wish. I don't have an Instagram account because I'm not a great photographer. So LinkedIn would be fine.
Okay, great. Enjoy the good weather in Thailand.
I will. Thanks. Make sure to cover yourself in Almaty. I know it -7 is warm for you, but it sounds very cold to me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for joining us on Asia Wine Market. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your fellow wine professionals wherever you get your pods. To stay updated on upcoming wine events, market insights, visit ItalianWinePodcast.com. Catch you in the next episode. And until then, cheers from Asia.